Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Kasper.
We got our good buddy, Mr. Brandon Berg. This is the first time I think I saw you since the outing, right?
Correct.
Yeah, because out last week, I was out last week, so yeah, that seems like a lifetime ago already, to be honest with you.
It's funny because it seems like a lifetime ago, but since that day, since that time, the Brewers haven't lost.
Okay, when you put it in that perspective, that's pretty darn cool. So
the last time they lost was the last game of the Cup Series.
So they obviously heard your frustrations that morning.
They did.
Yeah, no.
They were listening that morning, undoubtedly.
Yep, they're like, okay, we're going to prove that guy wrong.
We're going to make that guy look like a jerk.
Well, let's lead off with a little bit of the Brewers talk here, man. I mean, all right, we open up today 8 games above the Cubs for first place in the division. But this also opens up, I think, a grueling stretch for the Brewers.
Right.
No off day, no built-in off day. I throw that in there, just never know.
You never know what
weather.
Mother Nature's going to provide you. But yeah, right now, it's now through Labor Day.
Yeah, so that is a long stretch, and that includes those 5 games in 4 days against the Cubs.
Next week.
Yep, next week in there. So Cincinnati this week. But again, Cincinnati is only half game out from wild card spot, so this is a dangerous team.
Right. And they're closer. Right now, the Cubs are closer to the Reds than they are the Brewers.
Oh, look at you. You're 2 for 2 right now with some good nuggets. I like that. That's why we bring you in.
That's why you pay me the big bucks.
Exactly. So, but, man, that's, wow. That's, wow. So, but again, I feel like it's a broken record every time we've been talking about the Brewers lately. Just how surprising they have been for everybody. They're looking for lucky number 13 in a row now. Isaac Collins has fully put himself into Rookie of the Year candidate status. Salvatore is doing his thing, and all these other. I mean, Terang's now all of a sudden showing power, for crying out loud. I did a split stat the other day. Post All-Star break, Brewers are top 10 in home runs now. So I mean, they've displayed that and such. Christian Yelich, I said I think he's going to get to 30. He's at 23. I just need 7 more now to make me look good there. But I mean, all right. What do you have to say from what you've seen last time that we talked in the last 2 weeks about this Brewers team? Is this the most fun you're having with the team?
It's been a bit because this, I feel like the last, you can look at even going back to like, say, 2021. Like they've won 3 of the last 4 NL Central titles. But all of those have always been kind of a bit under the guise of, but. Because the last 2 times they've won it, they ended up as the 3 seed. 2021, they were the 2 seed. And so it was like, okay, this team is good, but how good is it?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was always a Dodgers or a Phillies or whoever else kind of lingering that was just kind of head and shoulders above. So you almost kind of approach it with a bit of that guarded optimism of like, okay, they're good, but they might not be really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes people forget in 2018 when the Brewers were a game from World Series, they were the top seed in the postseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you look at this now, and this is a team that's not just the best team in the National League right now, record-wise, the best team in baseball. And to me, it just opens up an entire different realm of possibility and optimism when you're in that stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
That's just different from, we're winning our division and maybe our division isn't great. It becomes, okay, well, what could this be? And, there's still 6 weeks, whatever's left in the regular season, and there's certainly a lot that can change between now and then. And, certainly we'll we'll talk about the playoffs when we get there. But I think you're just kind of seeing the excitement from fans about this, because I think they're kind of starting to see that too.
Mm-hmm.
That, this is a team that, if you lined it up against the Dodgers or the Phillies or even the Padres and just kind of went top to bottom in the lineup, top to bottom in the rotation in the bullpen, you would probably, just from known names and known commodities, it may not, stack up on paper, but,
mm-hmm.
This is for the most part a young team that is figuring itself out. And it's guys like Isaac Collins, who nobody expected this out of. But it's also guys like Frelick and Terang, who showed success previously, but you also said, you know what, there's more in there. It's going from a B- to a B+ or an A-. Like there's been a lot of room for maneuvering in there, and I think, if you want to get big picture on this, I think the thing that's so exciting about the Brewers is they're so young.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like this is a team of guys in their lower 30s that are just kind of, putting a year together.
Right.
And then you look at, recently, Baseball America had Milwaukee Brewers as the best farm system in the major of all the teams in the majors.
Right.
So you know that somewhere down the line, you're going to have additional reinforcements coming in there. It's just a very exciting time right now to be a Brewers fan.
All right. I put up a poll a couple days ago. Are you concerned at all? Are they peaking a little too? I don't feel like they are, but I feel like that's more of a gut thing. I don't,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, I just wonder do they have that right mind? I think I don't know. I think I trust Murphy. Is that the best way to say it?
And it's one of those things like, well, what do you do if they are?
Right,
like, there's
exactly.
nothing you can do about it. Like, they're playing really, really well in August. I mean,
yeah, we can't just sit there and say, hey, pause it.
Lose a couple games,
right,
and then pick it back up in October. It's
right.
like you just remember that, like when that Brewers team in 2018 went on a run, it was really end of August into September where it kind of clicked off. Like, I would rather have them kind of peaking in August and kind of still riding that wave in October, because then maybe an alternative. And yeah, we could look back 2 months from now and, if the Brewers lose, or maybe earlier than we were hoping in the postseason, and say, yeah, you know what, they were, maybe they peaked a little early. But I think right now you could probably make the case that, maybe the Cubs peaked in June.
Yeah.
Or May. I mean, you can't really necessarily control that. It's just about when everything kind of clicks for you and what you do from it there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's very possible that, I mean, look, they've won 12 games in a row, and, they're not too far removed from winning 11 games in a row. Like, it doesn't get much better than that.
And I think the other part, too, is, I can't remember who said this, but they've been doing it for a couple months, though. Right? I mean, a couple months in a row now. It's not just like this is the one hot streak they've been on.
I mean, you look back at, a 60 and 80 game stretch, whatever it is, and, like, this Brewers team is not only the best team in the majors, like, it's putting together one of the best stretches in the history of the franchise. It's putting one of the best stretches in the National League in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at just how they've done, like, the crazy stats. You go back to the 4th of July weekend, Rhys Hoskins put on the injured list. And obviously these things are related. It's just a timing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Since Rhys Hoskins went on the IL, the Brewers have lost 4 games.
Wow.
2 of them to the Marlins.
Wow.
I was there. You blame me for those.
Yeah. Okay, so another way to blame Brandon Berg here now for this. So, but okay, really 4?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that
because right after that was the start of the 11-game win streak, which carried over the All-Star break.
That's insane. I mean, that also brings.
They've lost 2 to the Marlins, 1 to the Mariners, and 1 to the Cubs.
I mean, that also gets to the question, too, where a lot of people are going to be like, because, Bauer's now just got optioned to AAA. I think he's the odd man out.
Oh, he's not on a rehab.
A rehab, that's what I meant. Sorry,
yes.
Rehab to AAA. But then you've got, okay, I know September rosters expand.
You get a couple more spots, so you're probably going to add a pitcher and a hitter.
Right. Then you would think, okay, maybe that is Hoskins when he is back. But at this point, you got to keep playing Andrew Vaughn,
right.
I would.
I think when Hoskins gets back, his role is, I think he's out there when you're facing lefties.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the DH, and that's when Yelich is playing left. But again,
you're taking Collins out.
Well, and that's it. Like, then what do then how you maneuvering things around, and we'll see when Churio's back, because then I mean, you would have to. I mean, under that alignment, would you almost have to put Frelick in center? But they haven't yet because Collins is going to play center. But it's just. You're just going to have to kind of pick your spots there. I agree with you. Like, you can't sacrifice significant playing time for Andrew Vaughn once Rhys Hoskins comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the thing that they're going to have to maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Right. You'd rather be in this position than not.
And then a couple years ago, when you're trying to, hope and pray that the fossilized husk of Josh Donaldson can give you something at third base,
right?
Because you just desperately need something.
Mm-hmm. I think, and it's something I brought up the other day. You just mentioned his name, but we're at a point, and this isn't a knock on him, but like nobody's really said, gosh, we really need Jackson Chourio back. We're not, and again, that's not a knock on him, but it's just how everybody else has just risen to the occasion.
Right. And that's kind of what this team has done here, where, there's no Chourio. Mizrowski's been a little bit, but, you've had some people out, and you haven't really noticed.
Right.
And again, that's not to speak to, well, they don't matter. It's to speak to just what everyone else has done in their absence.
Exactly. Yeah, it's because, I was actually thinking about that the other night, and I'm like, you really haven't, because I think I was listening to a game, and I think they were talking about, Miz probably going to be back during the Cubs series, and they were doing like a Rhys Hoskins update. And then it was like a few seconds, and then I can't remember who it was, like, oh yeah, and Jackson Chourio he's getting better too. But it's just because they've done such an awesome job of filling in for them, and I think that's allowing them to be more patient when it comes to like a soft tissue injury and a hamstring injury to something like that, where you're just like, God dang it, we need him back. We need, and you can't say that for a lot of teams when you're talking about their best or one of the best players.
And you can even go back a little bit further with Sal Frelick when he missed some time, near the end of July, and they were being cautious with that. And that was at a time when, the division race was a few games closer than it is now.
Right.
But, at this stage of the game, they just see the big picture, and they know. We want to make sure they're there in September and hopefully October. If that means a week now, so be it.
Right. It's been a fantastic. I don't know what it is, if it's euchre magic, if it's the power of the pancake or power of friendship, whatever. I mean, they've thrown out so many different.
Right. I think it's just a lot of things right now coming together.
At this point, I know it's hard, because the season's not over with. But you and I are the same age. And, it's kind of hard to ask this question with the season still going on. But in terms of, like, current, I put this up with, like, 08 for me in terms of the fun I'm having with this season. And we've talked about 08 how many times. It was, you and I were both in college. It was our first experience of going to the postseason with the Brewers, the CC Sabathia craze and all that. And this is where I kind of put it's different, but in terms of like maybe the enthusiasm level, and I think it was probably because we began the season maybe with not a ton of expectations, whereas 11 we came in with a lot of expectations. 18 we came in with a lot of expectations. Last year it was like we didn't know, and then you open up this year, it's like, okay, they lost Adames and they really didn't do anything else besides that, and now you're talking about the best flipping record in Major League Baseball with the last quarter of the season coming up here. That's why and it's a bunch of, I still think it's funny, and I know it's a month ago now, but this is also the best team in the Major League Baseball who didn't have a single position player in the All-Star game.
Right.
And they're doing it this way, and that's why I think I compare it more to 08 in terms of my fun scale, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the just level of, uncertainty and surprise that's come with it. I mean, earlier this week, ESPN came out with like their top 50 MLB players of the year, and there were 0 Brewers in there.
Yeah,
and that's like to me, I thought that was awesome. Like,
yeah,
I don't view that as like, an insult or they're hating or something. It's like, okay, well, who would be in there?
Right. It proves it's the team that's doing it, right?
But if you had 100, if they did their top 100, you might have had 3 or 4 of them because they might might be in that next range. But it just speaks to the depth of this team.
Right. And it's just, I know that's why I keep saying it sounds like a broken record every time we talk about them, but it's like there's I don't know what else to say other than it's enjoy the ride at this point.
Right, and that's kind of the approach I've had. Like, for the most part, you've got what you got. Just have fun with it. The odds are, out of the 12 teams that make the postseason, 11 of them are going to lose. So it's like, well, when the time comes to be sad, I'll be sad. But right now, just have fun with it, because this is one of the more unlikely stretches for the team that I can really recall experiencing.
I was watching Sunday Night Baseball. It was Cardinals and Cubs, and I was doing some work, so I had it on in the background. And they had their the Cardinals president was on doing interview and such. And obviously talking about season, trade deadline, and kind of the future of the Cardinals and that sort of stuff. And just, he said, look at what Milwaukee's doing. He's like, we got to get back to doing what, like, Milwaukee's doing, and kind of talking about building the farm and building, homegrown talent and such, and really acknowledged, look at what Milwaukee's doing. He wasn't asked about Milwaukee. He brought up Milwaukee himself, and obviously division team. So, yes, they pay attention to what's going on in that. And I don't know if teams, let's say the Brewers win the World Series. I don't see a bunch of teams all of a sudden changing their approach to, like, Milwaukee, right? I think the Yankees are still going to do what the Yankees do. Dodgers have a good farm system, but it feels like they grow them and then they ship them off to get more, proven players.
Veterans,
to veterans in that point. But, we had somebody text in, and I mentioned this earlier this week. I don't view it as Moneyball per se. I feel it's different. I think people kind of throw the Moneyball term out there because the Brewers don't spend a lot of money. But if you know Moneyball, or if you kind of the Oakland A's way at that time, Brewers don't play like those A's team. They're completely different.
Right, and that's it. Like, I think people sometimes misconstrue what Moneyball was.
Mm-hmm.
Moneyball wasn't – the idea wasn't, hey, take walks, hit home runs, or whatever. The idea was try to find something that the league doesn't value as highly as maybe it should.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on base percentage.
Yep.
And that, and then there were some other things in there too, but that's the thing people always come to. Like, Moneyball isn't just on base percentage.
Mm-hmm.
The Brewers are among the best teams in the majors in on base percentage. But, like, the Moneyball aspect, I would say, from the Brewers is it seems like they value athleticism,
mm-hmm.
defense, and putting the ball in play,
mm-hmm.
which honestly is probably going to grab the interest of a lot of older fans.
Yeah.
And maybe some younger
That's
ones.
why we keep saying it's old school, right?
And it's kind of, what's old is new again.
mm-hmm.
So many things in sports are circular.
Mm-hmm.
And but here's, and they're not the first one to do it. Like, this is how the Guardians have played a lot too. So, like, it's not like the Brewers are, at the cutting edge of, well, they're the only one that's doing this. No, a team like the Guardians has had a lot of success the last few years. They play
mm-hmm.
about a similar way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where if the Brewers were to win a championship, I think you would definitely see some teams that are, move further away from kind of the three true outcomes approach.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, sports, especially the major leagues, are always such copycat leagues.
Right.
Just look at the Eagles. Now how many teams are saying, we got to get that front four. We got to get that front four. And it's a little bit more difficult in baseball because you have larger systems, so you can't necessarily overhaul your approach in one offseason because you still got most of those players in the farm system still in the system.
Right.
So you can't just go up to someone and say, okay, you're a slap hitter now.
Right. Right.
But it's, I think, causing some people to change. And look, a lot of that might come down to the postseason. If the Brewers make a run, however long that may be, that may open up some teams' eyes. If the Brewers are a 1 seed and they go into the postseason, then they play the Dodgers and they lose, well, then people might just look at it like maybe they look at like the 2021 Giants, who won 107 games and then lost
mm-hmm.
in the opening round in their opening round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like it or not,
it's a style that wins in the regular season, but it's not a style that wins in the postseason. Because that's probably what the narrative is going to be.
Right. I won't use the quote verbatim because it has an audio word in it, but Billy Beane in Moneyball, if we
mm-hmm.
want to go off that, had said, my stuff doesn't work in the postseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's a much shorter sample size. There's, that was designed to what works over the course of winning the most games over 162.
Mm-hmm.
But even I think it was yesterday, Jeff Passan was on Jim Rome, and Roman asked him, he's like, hey, is this the type of Brewers team that can win the postseason? And Passan thought they were, because when they get to the postseason, what he looks for are teams that put the ball in play. You don't want to have a game where you strike out 14 times.
Right.
Teams with lockdown bullpens.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that kind of fits the Brewers to a T.
Yeah.
So he's like, you never know because it's the postseason, but it could be.
Mm-hmm. It's just, to me, though, too, when we get to that point, and I know a lot's going to change in the final quarter here, potentially, that National League's loaded, it looks like, too.
It is.
It's going to be. They're going to earn their way through that thing if they can get there.
And the funny thing is, look at the Central.
Yeah.
Central could have 3 of the 6 playoff teams.
Yeah,
It very well could. And coming into the year, what was the talk? Well,
got to win the division.
You got to win the division because there's no other way.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing too. Like obviously the Cubs have kind of tripped up a little bit here. The Cubs are still a good team.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the Brewers are playing at such kind of an all-time pace right now that you lose 2 or 3 to the Blue Jays, who are another team that are one of the best teams in the league, and suddenly you've lost 2 games.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of the nature of the beast right now.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's kind of it's a perfect storm for the Brewers in a sense. Yeah.
And they've had some things go their way, and I think when so many times when teams do well and you hear someone say, well, you guys got some breaks, like people get offended by that. It's like
you need luck in sports.
Look at any team that's ever won a championship. I guarantee you they got things to go their way. Look at the Bucks in 2021.
Yes.
Kevin Durant, the size of Kevin Durant's foot.
Yep.
I mean, you can look at any championship team, and as much as they want to probably, prop themselves up and say, "Oh, we had to overcome all the odds." No, you probably had some things. You had some breaks go your way. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
The old saying, and I know it's one Richard Petty was always fond of. I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's luck involved in.
Certainly.
I totally agree with you, and I think people just when people say, "Oh, they got lucky," but you need a little. Everybody needs a little luck for crying out loud. I'm sorry, but the 2010 Packers Super Bowl team wasn't a very. I mean, yes, they beat Atlanta. That was an impressive one, but your NFC Championship game was against the Bears. The Bears were not really a dominant 2 seed.
Right. It was just yeah.
I'll take the bullet. I'm sorry, but
I mean, Todd Collins played in that game.
Exactly. So,
and that's just what happens.
But I'm not apologizing for it.
No, you don't have to.
I'm not apologizing.
You don't have to apologize for it, but you can acknowledge it.
Right. And yes, they did beat a very good Steelers team in the Super Bowl. That too. But
sometimes some things happen along the way that help. Mm-hmm. That's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Todd Collins, man. Todd Collins. They went through 3 quarterbacks that day. The Bears did.
That's right. Because it was
who was the final one?
I forget his name because whenever I would see his name after the fact, that's all I would ever think of.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy that had to play because it was Cutler, right?
Cutler started, then he hurt his knee. Then Collins, did Collins get hurt or did he get benched then? I got it up here, the box score. Haney.
Caleb Haney, that's it, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he was 13 of 20 for $153. Then he threw that pick 6. He had 2 interceptions, but one was at the end, and then the other was to B.J. Rashi. So, yeah. But that's what he gets known for, Caleb Haney. Yeah. But that was actually moving the ball a little bit there, too.
I was going to say that stat line up until you brought the interception. Reminds me of a great quote. I love the TV show Futurama. It's one of my absolute comfort TV shows. It can be on any time and I'll watch it.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the earlier seasons, there's a episode where Bender meets God. And long story short, God tells him, "You were doing really well until everybody died." It's like, okay, that's kind of what it sounds like. Oh, you were doing well. Oh, then you threw a pick 6 to B.J. Raji. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was going so well up until then.
Yep. Somebody had asked this earlier this week, and again, I think this is probably a better question after the season's over, whenever that's going to be. Does Mark Anasio get exonerated a little bit here for that? I don't know if I put a lot of the credit to him, though.
No.
That's the thing. I go threefold. Matt Arnold for identifying a lot in the front office, Pat Murphy and his coaching staff, and the players.
Right.
And I think if you ask Pat Murphy, he would never take any of the credit. He always gives it to the players and then the front office. But I look at it from a player standpoint of Andrew Vaughn got a second chance, and he took advantage of that second chance. Isaac Collins got a chance. He took advantage of that chance.
Yep.
Quinn Priester got a third chance. He's taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
That's a credit to the players for doing that, too.
Right. And it's kind of interesting because you look at the awards like Manager of the Year and Front Office of the Year or Executive of the Year, whatever. Right now, those are generally awards that aren't won consecutively.
Right.
But right now, who's the Manager of the Year?
It's got to be Pat Murphy.
Right. Because you look at the rest of the rest of the National League, I guess maybe if the Reds made a run, maybe it would be Terry Francona. But, you look at the rest of the National League, it's the Dodgers, the Padres, the Cubs, the Phillies, the Mets.
Yeah.
Those are all teams you expected to be here, certainly more than the Brewers.
Right. And if they finish off as the top team, I mean, how do you not?
Right.
He's got to be the first since Bobby Cox to go back-to-back.
Right. And you can make a very good case as well for Matt Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, you can almost probably make a better case for Matt Arnold because of the maneuvering that they had to do and the players that worked.
And I value general managers more when they make moves like that instead of acquiring proven commodities. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Oh yeah, it's easy to sign or make a blockbuster trade for that guy. But to go acquire a Quinn Priester, where at that time people were like, "Oh, dude, you gave up a lot."
Right. Oh yeah, that was the discussion. Like, what you get in, it was a significant haul, relatively speaking, for what you see for a trade in April.
But now you got a pitcher who's got double-digit wins.
Right.
And Andrew Vaughn, yes, 3rd overall pick, was stinking. It felt like, okay, we just got to get rid of Savali. Let's get something in return.
I remember the day of the trade because it was right after we went off air. Because I think we were still talking, and then suddenly it kind of popped up on our phones. Like, oh, and then it's like Andrew Vaughn. It's like, well, I know who that is, but I'm like, that strikes me as we need to Savali wanted to be traded, so they traded him like nobody.
Yeah, was
like, this is going to be the move. This guy's going to become primary bonds for a stretch.
Right.
It's like, but that's where you identify if you're the front office. Hey, this guy has some traits, some skills. He just kind of needs a reset.
Yep.
And that's always the interesting thing about Andrew Vaughn is like he kind of got rushed to the majors a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was right around the time of COVID. Like he was playing I think it was in A or Double A. COVID hit, and then they were just like, okay, you're in the major leagues. It's like that's a gigantic jump to make.
Mm-hmm.
And he had we've talked about this already, but he's had success. He's done hit 20 home runs, whatever. But it's like it's never been put together. But you're right, he's a former 3rd overall pick. Like those, you don't get drafted that high unless you do have some talent.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. All right, so we got to take a quick break here. We'll be back to wrap up the second hour coming up after these quick words.